Do you love breakdowns? Do you need stats? Do you crave insight? Download the AllStar app. UFC, Bellator, PFL 1 Championship, and more. Ad-free, fully customizable. Download the best app in the business. Link in descriptions. Is USADA and the whole USADA versus Conor McGregor situation. And it's, to me, it's like, I don't even respect USADA anymore. Like, I have no respect for USADA. I feel like USADA is just like an employee for the UFC, basically, right? They just do what the UFC wants. Even Dana White comes out and all of a sudden he's just like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. Like, that's not me. That's USADA and Conor McGregor. But if it was another situation, then he would have his opinions, right? Are fighters fighting? Are they playing on an even ground, you think, right now in the UFC, James?
What do you mean by that?
Like, the treatment with USADA, certain guys get tested 50 times. Like, we saw Yuri getting tested 50 times last year. And then certain other guys are in the top 15 or even champions. They're getting tested once or twice a year.
It's pretty clear that I don't know what it is, but there's something going on that doesn't meet the eye. I remember back in what was it, 2019 maybe, when that's just a guess, when John Jones come back and fought Daniel Cormier, that the whole picogram saga, right? So he pops for steroids, but then apparently, it's not that bad. It's only picogram. It's not popping for steroids. And another thing with USADA, they consistently change their threshold for what they consider a steroid, right? So like 1 year, it's okay, you need this many grams of nandrolone or whatever it is. But then the next year, it's like, oh, it's okay, you can have that now, but you can't have 100 grams. And they say it's because the science is changing, which is probably true. But then that also means that how can we really trust it? Because if you're changing it every year, then really what are you really saying? And then we know for a fact certain fighters are juicing because they get popped for it. But then some fighters miraculously, look 10 times better than they've ever looked physically in their cardio. Like they can go 5 rounds where they only went 1 round before. And it's kind of obvious that they're juicing. And then loads of other fighters have come out and consistently and say, people juice all the time. Michael Bisping has been, the captain of the anti-steroid ship. He's been saying, he works for the UFC. And he's been saying for the last 10 years, everybody's juicing. I was one of the only ones who's not doing it, and I still became champion. So that just shows you, you need to do. So like everybody knows that people are juicing. And there's some weird stuff where it seems like John Jones was able to come back from this picogram saga, and Dana White's holding a press conference with Jeff Nowitzki saying that actually John Jones is not guilty. It's nothing. He got proven wrong. But then he was popped 6 times or whatever it was. It is crazy. And now with this Conor thing, I haven't stayed up to date with it. So I don't know the ins and outs, I know that Conor said something like, F USADA, you don't mean anything. And like, usually you would think that, well, then he shouldn't be able to fight, right? If he's saying certain things like that, because he's essentially saying he's not going to do testing, or I don't know. I haven't kept up with it fully, but it does seem like something's fishy going on, but I don't know what that is.
There was also the Darren Till thing where he's released from the UFC because Darren Till wants to go out and not be tested so he could get his injuries taken care of. And some of the treatment for the injuries is on the banned list, or most likely on the banned list, or maybe on the banned list. He doesn't know for sure. And then there's the TJ Dillashaw. He retires, but who knows? Maybe he's retiring to get out of the testing pool. And he's a guy that they probably have their eyes on. He's like the poster boy, right? He's the one, the major name, the first one to come out and just get completely just completely murdered by USADA, like just 3-year ban and all of that stuff. It's like fighters are figuring out loopholes. You got the IV situation as well. They thought IVs were banned by USADA, and then somehow like secretly, like now you can take 100 milligrams every 12 hours when they were banned. And a lot of fighters thought you weren't allowed to use IVs at all. And then the ones that knew were using the IVs, But then if you use an IV, you have to report it to USADA or report it to the commission. But there's no log of anybody using IVs or
Yeah.
reporting that they use IVs. But clearly someone's using IVs. You know, I've been hearing stories of fighters using IVs the whole time. And it's like, are they even doing their job? Or, you know, there's the whole conspiracy theory with they just brought them in so they could look legitimate and sell the UFC for, what was it, $3.3 billion and right away in the sunset. And that's what they did. If it was that for that reason, they did a great job, a great job. And now it's like, do they even need them around? You know what I mean? Like, do they even need it? You know, this seems like, you know, the commissions really don't care at all. You know what I mean? They, of course, the commissions test them on, you know, fight week, but everybody, you know, it's like the smell test. Everybody can go into fight week clean, pretty much, right? You gotta be like, I forgot what coach said. You gotta be dumb to get busted during fight week, right?
Yeah.
It's out of competition testing, and you know, fighters will say like, you know, I'll fight a guy on steroids. It's like, really, like, there's a reason why you're in the UFC, because it's supposed to be the cleanest promotion, right? Like, you shouldn't say that you would fight a guy on steroids. It doesn't make any sense. To me, it's very, very odd, man, like what they're doing. And you know, people talk about it's conspiracy theories. It's not, man, because like Conor, clearly he's doing something. You know what I mean? Like, you see him walking around, you know what I mean? Like, it looks like it's not like he's just going and weight training with bodybuilders, and there would be no reason to do that, right? You're a fighter. Why would you bodybuild? But J Spec, any final thoughts on this topic?
Oh, I got a lot. First off, steroids in this sport sucks. It takes away all the integrity of the sport. I've been watching it literally since the beginning. I'm a fan for this since I'm 8 years old until the day I die. I hate it. I hate it a lot. One of the first guys, Uncle BJ Penn, was against it, and there's many other guys against it, including Bisbing and everybody else, right? If you don't have rules, and I'll jump into something else. If you don't have rules that apply to everyone, it's not rules, all right? It's just arbitrary bullshit that's used to hold other people down and let other people get away with shit. We got way too much of that in all of our societies across the world, so we don't need any of that. Next, Uncle Chael said, you know, a juicer knows a juicer. He was admitted to being juiced up. He can tell which guys are juiced up. I mean, if it's that simple, I mean, come on. I mean, we all know that there's people doing it. It shouldn't be this obvious. It shouldn't be that hard. Next, and maybe not lastly, but something I want to bring up is I don't want any more parts of. I love boxing. Let me just say that. I don't want any of the shitty parts of boxing leaking over to MMA. And one of those things is a couple years ago, there was a world title fight that the champion popped for a diuretic in the rule book for that, and they moved the entire venue onto a Native American land reservation, which is under a different guideline that doesn't have the verbiage for that diuretic. So he wasn't stripped of the title and the fight could continue. I do not want this to start being the thing in the UFC or MMA anywhere in general. It sucks. And what is so hard if we're gonna have? Oh, I also want to answer the question: is USADA necessary? No, they're clearly trash, dude. Like, get them out. There's got to be some other organization that has more clearer rules, more set standards. There's got to be somebody out there. There needs to be some kind of testing. I'm not for the whole, hey, just let them juice, let them juice. No, no, let's not do that. All right, I do care about how the fighters live after the fight game's over. So let's throw that out the window. But we do need to have a fair system. Like, what? Hey, you're gonna get tested twice a month. It's gonna be random as shit, and that's what just how it goes. Like, why is that so hard? I'm pretty sure steroids last in your system longer than 2 weeks. So if everybody gets tested twice in a month at random in the calendar month, so everybody gets done, it's not that hard, dude. Like, I'm a regular guy. I just figured it out. Ta-da! So USADA's a joke. They're puppets behind the organization. Like I said, this is a direct copycat of poison from other fighting leagues, like I said, in boxing and whatnot. So the organization, the UFC, the promotion, I should say, is hiding behind an organization, and this is shell games and shadow movement and bullshit. Get it out of the sport, man.
I just can't wait until Dana White puts out that documentary he says he's putting out once again about like the media and everything, and how shitty they are. It's gonna be funny, man. I'm interested to see who pops up on there about the whole situation.